The morning Melody Adeyemi left for America, her mother pressed a small bottle of palm oil into her carry-on and said, in case they don't have the real thing over there. Melody had laughed then, kissing her mother's cheeks and promising she'd be back before the oil ran out. That was 5 years ago. The bottle was long empty, and she had been surviving on olive oil like a woman with no culture. America had not been what the movies promised. Nobody told Melody that land of opportunity sometimes meant opportunity to clean other people's toilets with a smile. She worked at a mid-tier hotel in New Jersey, the Grand View, which had a grand view of a parking lot, as a housekeeping attendant. Her colleagues were a rotating cast of tired, kind women. Rosa from Guatemala, who taught her how to fold towel swans, and Diane from Ohio, who ate the same ham sandwich every single day and claimed it was self-care. Melody kept her head down. She worked doubles when she could. She wore her long, silky hair in a bun beneath her work cap. All that beautiful hair, threaded with small gold ornaments her mother had braided in before she left, tucked away where no one could see them. For protection, her mother had said, and for beauty, even when no one is watching. No one was watching. She rented a room in a shared house with 4 other women and ate rice she cooked in bulk on Sundays. She did not buy herself new clothes. She did not go to the cinema. When her sneakers split at the sole, she used a rubber band as a temporary fix for 11 days before buying the cheapest replacement pair she could find. Everything else went to Lucas. Lucas Okafor was her husband. Tall, charming, the kind of man who made you feel like the only person in the room. They had married young, full of fire and plans. The plan was simple. Melody would go ahead, work, send money back, and in 2 years, they had said, he would join her, or she would return with enough to start something real. 2 years became 5. But they spoke on the phone. He told her he loved her. He told her he missed her cooking. He told her he was managing the money well, that he was looking for work, that things were almost ready. She believed him. Because what is a marriage if not the decision to believe someone, even when the evidence is thin? She sent him money every month, faithfully, like a tithe. The day Melody bought her return ticket, she sat on her bed and cried. Not from sadness, but from the sheer relief of it. I am going home. She had saved enough, the ticket was booked, the date was set. And then, for the first time in 5 years, she did something wild, something reckless. She bought herself an outfit. Not expensive, she was not yet that free, but it was nice. A flowing Ankara dress in deep blue and gold, the kind that moved when you walked, the kind that made strangers turn their heads. She stood in the mirror of the shared bathroom and unpinned her hair for the first time in months. It fell past her shoulders, long and silky, the gold ornaments catching the light. Rosa knocked on the door, and when Melody opened it, the woman put both hands over her mouth. Dios mío, Rosa whispered. Melody, you've been hiding this whole time. Melody laughed, and it surprised her how good it felt, how unfamiliar, like a muscle she hadn't used. She did not tell Lucas she was coming. She wanted to see his face, that face, in the raw, unscripted moment of her arrival. She imagined it the whole flight, Him opening the door, his jaw dropping, maybe even tearing up a little, pulling her in before she could say a word. She had rehearsed her line. She would say, "Your wife is home," and he would say something wonderful. She was smiling to herself at the Lagos airport, wheeling her single suitcase through arrivals, when she heard a familiar voice. "Auntie, you need ride?" She turned. It was Emeka, the same Emeka who had driven her to the airport 5 years ago in his yellow cab. The same man with the gap-toothed smile and the rosary hanging from his rearview mirror. He looked exactly the same, except now he had a small pot belly that hadn't been there before. "Emeka!" She threw her arms open. He blinked, then recognition flooded his face. "Ha! Melody! Sister! You don't come back? You look like film star, I swear!" She laughed, dragging her bag toward him. "Take me home, Emeka. Take me to my husband." Something moved across his face then, fast, like a cloud passing over sun. But he recovered quickly, taking her bag and loading it into the boot. In the car, he asked about America. She told him everything: the hotel, the olive oil, Rosa and her towel swans. He laughed in all the right places. But somewhere along the way, he went quiet. Then, carefully, as if choosing each word like stepping stones across a river, "Melody, you sure you want to go straight home? Not rest small for hotel first. Nice hotel in the island. I know one." She gave him a look. "Emeka, I have not seen my husband in 5 years. Drive." He drove. He held his peace. But his knuckles were tight on the steering wheel, and twice she caught him looking at her in the rearview mirror with an expression she could not name, something between pity and prayer.
The house looked different from the outside. New curtains, a small generator she didn't recognize, a potted plant by the door that she had definitely not owned. He's been fixing the place up, she thought warmly. With the money. He's been getting it ready. She knocked. The door opened. Lucas stood there in a house shirt, and for one beautiful second she saw him, really saw him, the man she had married. And then she watched his face do something faces should never do at the sight of a wife. It went pale. Melody. Not a greeting, not a cry of joy. A statement of fact delivered in the tone of a man who has just discovered a bill he forgot to pay. What are you doing here?" She opened her mouth. And then, from somewhere inside the house, from the kitchen by the sounds of it, humming and clattering, completely at home, came a voice. "Honey? Who's at the door?" Melody knew that voice. She knew it the way you know a song you grew up with, the way you know your own name. She had known that voice for 23 years. It had called her on her birthday every year without fail. It had cried with her the night before she boarded that flight to America. The world tilted. Anna stepped out of the kitchen wearing an apron. Melody's apron, with the little pineapples on it, and a smile that collapsed the moment she saw who was standing in the doorway. The three of them stood in a silence so thick you could have charged rent on it. Melody looked at her husband. She looked at her best friend. She looked at the living room behind them. Her photographs replaced, the furniture rearranged, a pair of women's slippers by the couch that were not hers. Then she laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh that comes out when the body cannot decide between screaming and weeping and settles on something in between. A short, high, broken sound, like a hinge giving way. "Anna," she said, very quietly, "you are wearing my apron." Anna had the audacity, the absolute nerve to look guilty and indignant at the same time, which is a very difficult emotion to perform, and she was unfortunately pulling it off. "Melody, I can explain." "In my house, cooking in my kitchen, with my husband. It just happened," Anna said, and the words landed with all the weight of a wet tissue. "You left. You were gone so long. We were lonely and we became close and then it just happened. Melody, you have to understand." "You left a man," Lucas added. And this, of all things, was what finally broke through the strange, glassy calm that had settled over Melody. Because he said it as if it were an explanation, as if absence were consent, as if 5 years of every spare dollar, every skipped meal, every lonely Sunday were not the most present she had ever been in her life. She picked up her suitcase. She turned around. "Emeka," she called. He was still parked outside. He had not moved. He had, she would later realize, never intended to leave. "Hotel," she said, getting in. He nodded once, started the engine, and said nothing, which was the kindest thing anyone had said to her all day. The hotel Emeka took her to was not the nice one on the island he had mentioned earlier. It was clean, functional, and aggressively beige. The kind of place that exists purely to remind you that your life has taken an unexpected turn. The receptionist, a young man with a badge that said Kingsley, happy to help, looked at Melody's Ankara dress, her gold ornamented hair, her single suitcase, and had the wisdom not to ask any questions. He gave her the room key and said, "Breakfast is from 7. "Thank you, Kingsley," she said. She went upstairs, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at the wall for a while. Then she opened her suitcase, pulled out the small bottle of olive oil she had packed out of habit. 5 years of cooking had turned it into muscle memory, looked at it for a long moment, and put it on the nightstand like a trophy for surviving things that should not have to be survived. She did not cry that night. The airport, at least, was lively. The beautiful, exhausting chaos of Murtala Mohammed, full of noise and color and people dragging impossible amounts of luggage as though they were moving the entire country, one bag at a time. Melody checked in early and found a seat near her gate, her small suitcase between her feet, her hair pinned back up with the gold ornaments catching the fluorescent light.
She was watching a man argue with airport staff about whether a bag the size of a small refrigerator counted as carry-on luggage. It did not. And he knew it, and they knew it, and the negotiation was going nowhere fast. When she noticed the old woman, she was perhaps 70, maybe older, small and unhurried, with the particular dignity of someone who had long since stopped caring what anyone thought of her. She was also, inexplicably, traveling with what appeared to be 6 bags of varying sizes, one of which was held together with a combination of tape, rope, and what looked like genuine optimism. She was trying to join the check-in queue. The bags disagreed. Every time she moved one forward, another shifted. She dragged the large one and the small taped one would topple. She'd right the small one and the medium one would slide. It was a masterclass in chaos theory. And the people around her were performing the very particular Lagos skill of seeing without seeing. Eyes forward, feet moving, nobody's problem. Melody watched for exactly 30 seconds before she stood up. "Let me help you, ma." The old woman looked up. She had sharp, warm eyes, the kind that had seen many things and found most of them either funny or instructive. "My daughter," she said, "God sent you." Between the two of them, they got the bags into something resembling order. Melody wheeled too. The woman directed from behind like a general overseeing a campaign, and eventually they made it to the queue. The taped bag held, just barely. "You are traveling alone?" the old woman asked.
"Yes, ma." "Back to abroad?" "Yes, ma. America." The woman studied her, not rudely, but in the way of someone who has learned to read people, the way others read weather. "You don't look like someone going back happy," she said. Melody laughed, that short, surprised laugh again. "I'm fine, ma." The woman said nothing further, but her contained multitudes. They stood together in the queue. Melody found herself talking. She wasn't sure why. Perhaps because the woman had the quality of a very good listener. Or perhaps because the whole previous 12 hours had been sitting in her chest like a stone, and she needed to put it down somewhere. She told her about America, about the hotel job, about 5 years of sending money home. She did not mention Lucas by name. She did not mention the apron. The woman listened without interrupting, which was itself a rare and generous gift. When Melody finished, the woman was quiet for a moment and then said, "The mango tree does not apologize for growing tall because the short trees resent it." Melody blinked. "Ma? You walked. You survived. You sent money to someone who did not deserve it. You are not the problem in this story." She patted Melody's hand. "Now, my old bones are tired and I want coffee. Buy an old woman coffee." Melody looked at her wallet, looked at the old woman, looked back at her wallet. "Of course, ma," she said, and went to buy 2 cups of airport coffee. Expensive, slightly burnt, served in cups too small for the price, with the last dollars she had. While somewhere in her chest,
something that had been clenched very tightly for a very long time, began slowly to loosen.
They sat together at a small table near the gate. The old woman drank her coffee and told Melody about her own life, a long one, full of reversals and recoveries, of things lost and things unexpectedly found. She had never been the kind of person, she said, who got what she expected, only what she needed, and usually much later than she would have liked. That's not very comforting, Melody said honestly. The old woman laughed, a deep, full laugh for such a small frame. No, but it is true, and true is better than comfortable in the long run. When their gate was called, they parted ways. The woman took Melody's hands in both of hers, pressed them firmly, and looked at her with those sharp, warm eyes. "What is your name, my daughter?" "Melody. Melody Adeyemi." "And your number?"
She gave it, typing it into the woman's old phone herself. The woman nodded, satisfied. "You are the kindest stranger I have met in 71 years of traveling," she said simply. "And I have traveled a great deal." Then she picked up her bags, all 6 of them somehow, and moved toward her gate, unhurried, the taped one holding together until the very end. Back in New Jersey, Melody returned to the Grandview. Rosa saw her walking on her first day back and dropped a towel swan. "You're back early. What happened? Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Melody said. And then, because Rosa was Rosa, my husband was living with my best friend. In my house. She was wearing my apron. Rosa stared. "The pineapple one?" "The pineapple one." "That's..." Rosa said something in Spanish that Melody didn't understand, but felt deeply in her spirit. Diane appeared from around the corner with her ham sandwich. What'd I miss? The months that followed were different. Not easier, exactly. Grief doesn't follow a schedule, and sometimes it arrived uninvited at inconvenient hours, usually around 2 a.m., when the hotel was quiet, and there was nothing to do but feel it. She missed Nigeria. She missed her mother. She missed the person she had been before she learned what Lucas and Anna had been doing with her absence. But here was the thing about not sending money to anyone. She could eat. Not rice on Sundays eat. Properly eat. She discovered a Nigerian restaurant 40 minutes away and went twice a month and ordered the egusi soup and didn't even flinch at the price. She bought a coat that actually fit. She got her hair done. All that long, silky hair finally freed from the work bun. The gold ornaments polished and rebraided, and walked out of the salon feeling, for the first time in years, like herself. She called her mother and told her everything. Her mother was silent for a long time. And then said, "I knew something was wrong with that boy
when he didn't cry at your wedding? A man who cannot cry at a wedding is a man hiding something. Mama, plenty of men don't cry at weddings. Exactly, said her mother, as if this proved her point entirely. She also, quietly, began the process of divorce. A clean, cold, administrative act that felt nothing like what she had imagined, and everything like setting down a very heavy bag. She walked. She healed. She bought herself flowers once because Rosa said it was important, and Rosa was almost always right. 5 months passed.
Well, before Melody's story comes to an end, be sure to tell us where you are watching from. I love to see how far these stories travel. Also, remember to share this story with a friend or a loved one. Also, do tell us, what would you have done had you been in Melody's situation? Do you think she underreacted? She was at the hotel, folding linens, on a Tuesday. Ordinary Tuesday. No particular meaning. When her phone rang. Unknown number. American area code. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Is this Miss Melody Adeyemi? Yes. Who is this? My name is Patricia Holt. I'm a partner at Holt and Green, a law firm based in Connecticut. We've been trying to reach you regarding a matter involving the estate of Mrs. Constance Abara. Melody stopped folding. I'm sorry. I don't know anyone by... Wait. She pressed the phone harder to her ear. The woman from the airport? A pause. You knew Mrs. Abara personally? I met her once, at the airport in Lagos. We had coffee together. Another pause, longer this time, with a quality to it that Melody couldn't quite read. Miss Adeyemi, the lawyer said carefully. Mrs. Abara passed away 6 weeks ago. She was 93 years old. Melody sat down slowly on a stack of linens. She had no living relatives. Prior to her passing, she contacted our firm to revise her will. She was very specific about what she wanted changed, and even more specific about why. A brief rustle of papers. She described a young woman at Lagos Airport who helped her with her bags, bought her coffee, which she noted you could not afford, and spoke to her, in her words, like a person and not a problem to be stepped around. The gold ornaments in Melody's hair caught the light from the laundry room window. She wants you to have it? Melody asked. Her voice came out strange, thin and high, like a question she wasn't sure she was allowed to ask. She left it to you, the lawyer said. We'd like to arrange a meeting at your earliest convenience to discuss the details. Outside, through the small window, New Jersey looked completely ordinary. The parking lot, the grey sky, a pigeon doing something inexplicable near a drain.
Melody looked at it all and felt somewhere beneath the shock and the disbelief and the low hum of, this cannot be real, something she had almost forgotten the shape of. Hope. Small and new and certain. Like a seed that had been waiting underground for exactly the right season.
The law firm was in a quiet part of Connecticut, the kind of street where the buildings were old and confident, and the receptionist spoke in hushed tones as though everything was slightly sacred. Melody wore her Ankara dress, the blue and gold one. It felt right. Patricia Holt was a brisk, kind woman in her 60s who shook Melody's hand firmly and got straight to the point, which Melody appreciated because her heart had been beating at an unreasonable pace since the car ride over. Mrs. Constance Abara, it turned out, had been a great many things Melody hadn't known over 2 cups of airport coffee. A retired professor, a published author, a woman who had built over 70-odd years of careful living, a considerable estate, property in Connecticut, savings, investments, and a brownstone in Hartford that had been sitting quietly accumulating value since 1987.
Previously, Patricia said, sliding a document across the table, the estate was to go to an orphanage in Enugu. A worthy cause, which Mrs. Abara had supported for many years. Then I feel terrible, Melody said immediately. Patricia smiled. Don't. She also left a generous separate donation to the orphanage. She was thorough. She revised the will 2 weeks after returning from Lagos. She said, she glanced at her notes. And I'm quoting here. I have met many people in my long life. Very few of them have made me feel seen. This one did. And she spent her last dollars doing it. See to it that she is taken care of. Melody pressed her lips together very hard. She was not going to cry in this law firm. She was absolutely going to cry in this law firm.
She called her mother from the car park outside. Mama? What happened? You sound like you are crying. Why are you crying? Who do I need to fight? Nobody, Mama. Something good happened. A pause. Her mother, suspicious of good news the way all Nigerian mothers are, needing to verify it from multiple angles before accepting it. How good? Very good. Like small good? Or God has remembered you good? Melody laughed, wiping her face with the back of her hand, her gold ornaments catching the Connecticut afternoon light. God has remembered me, Mama, she said. Come and visit me. I'll buy your ticket. Her mother screamed so loudly that a man walking past on the pavement visibly startled and picked up his piece. She did not become a different person. That is the thing about real change. It doesn't arrive as a lightning bolt, turning you into someone unrecognizable. It arrives quietly, like a long overdue rent payment finally clearing. Things just become gradually more correct. She moved out of the shared house and into her own apartment. A small one, nothing extravagant, but hers entirely. She bought a proper bed. She bought a kitchen she actually wanted to cook in. She bought, finally, a full bottle of palm oil and put it on the counter where she could see it every morning. Rosa cried when she told her. Diane said, "Good for you," and took a large celebratory bite of her ham sandwich. Even Kingsley from the Beige Hotel. She'd kept in touch because she was that kind of person. Sent a voice note that was mostly just him shouting.
She went back to work, not because she had to now, but because she was still figuring out what came next. And the hotel was familiar, and Rosa was there. And there was something grounding about folding towels while the future arranged itself. She enrolled in an online business course. Small steps, no rush. She visited the law firm one last time to finalize everything. And before she left, she asked if she could see the note. The actual handwritten note Mrs. Abara had left with the revised will. Patricia slid it across the table. It was brief. The handwriting was careful and slightly shaky, the pen pressed firmly as though the words mattered. The world is not changed by grand gestures. It is changed by people who stop when everyone else walks past. I met one such person. Her name is Melody. Please find her. Melody folded it carefully and put it in her bag, next to her passport and the small bottle of palm oil she'd started carrying. That evening, she sat by her apartment window, hair down, gold ornaments loose around her shoulders, and ate a bowl of jollof rice she had cooked herself, properly, with the right oil, the right pepper, the right unhurried attention, and watched the New Jersey evening do its quiet thing. She thought about 5 years of rubber-banded shoes and bulk-cooked rice and money sent faithfully across an ocean to a man who had spent it building a life with her best friend. She thought about a small woman in a large airport with 6 bags and very good coffee instincts. She thought about what her mother always said, that the mango tree does not apologize for growing tall. She took another spoonful of rice. Outside, the city hummed along, indifferent and alive. Inside, for the first time in a very long time, so did she.